I was like, whoa. Mm-mm.
Back away.
Here we go.
Back away.
Hello, 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 everybody. I love to thank y'all for tuning in to Testimonial Tuesday. And as always, we come to bring you empowering, inspiring, and motivational stories to help bless you to understand that you can move on and you can continue to heal. And like I said, hashtag you deserve to heal. So, welcoming up first, we're going to welcome my co-host, Lyrica7, to bless the people with a little positive word for today.
Well, one of the main things I love to tell people is to push through till the trees bow to the trail you blaze. Keep
Amen,
going.
girl. Oh,
Amen.
amen. Listen, yes, she's dropping that fire for y'all, that motivation today. And of course, we have Miss Davis in the building. Is it Katrina
Hey, y'all.
or Katina?
Nobody
I want to
calls
make
me that. You could just call me Tina.
Oh.
Okay, we're gonna call her Tina. Yes, Tina's in the building. Miss Tina Davis is in the building. Woo
Yeah.
woo. Let's say Tina.
Yeah.
Everybody give her a shout out in the comments.
So
We have
Tina.
Miss Lovely Miss Tina in the building, and she is gonna bless us with empowering and inspiring. And like I said, that hashtag you deserve to heal. She is one healing one soul at a time, and she's here to
right.
bless y'all with those words of motivation. So, Miss Davis, can you please tell them who you are and where you're from?
Yes, I can. So, as they stated, my name is Katina Davis. I go by Tina. Um, where I'm from is a little complicated. I was born in Miami, but we relocated to DC after Hurricane Andrew when I was really, really young. So, I identify with being from DC.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my home. So maybe it's almost 3 years now. I relocated to Atlanta with my 3 children, just to start over and get a new outlook on life, become fresh and whole within myself. Because when I left DC, I was just really in bad shape. I was in the worst state I had ever been in mentally. I just didn't know who the hell I was. You know what I'm saying? Like I was about to move to a whole new state and I didn't know what that was going to look like for me. I was terrified. And a man was never a part of that plan, but somehow he got mixed up in it and it turned my life upside down.
Upside down. I tell you, aren't they good for that? But
Baby. Baby.
Look,
So I
aren't
mean,
they
if you
good
want
for
me to
that?
slow right through, I can. But listen, I wasn't even looking for him. I wasn't looking for him, and he smelled it on me. You know what I'm saying? He smelled on me that I was weak, and I'm a strong woman. But at the time that he met me, I was so weak. You feel me? Because I had so much negativity and baggage and hurt in me. Like there was a lot of things that I was dealing with that at that time. I had just had my son. He was 6 months old. His dad and I, we had like this 5-year on and off thing going on, and he wasn't expected. So here I am. I just had a baby. 11 years after I've already had a child. I'm done having kids. You know what I'm saying? So I'm by myself completely. And I remember a moment after having my son, I called my best friend. I said, you have to come and get him. It was that bad. I hadn't slept. I was crying. So trust and believe, the last thing that I was looking for was a man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So when he met me, it was prior to me leaving. And we worked in the same area. And I noticed that he will always be staring at me. I seen him trying to get my attention, but I didn't pay him no mind. I wasn't interested, So I was a single parent, and he worked at, like a cafe. And my kids were right next door to me. So my daughters had their phones. They would sit at the cafe and do their homework for an hour until I got off work, right? So they would text me and be like, Mom, Mr. Such and such is here. You know, he wants to buy some snacks. Is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Because he had spoken to me before, prior to that. So those were the things that he was doing. It's like almost like he was preying on us and inserting himself, trying to make it seem like he was such a nice guy so that the next time he asked me out, I would say yes.
It's like they always hate you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
So that went on for a little while. And I kept turning him down. And then he showed up to my job with some food and some flowers. So naturally, I'm like, okay, because I ain't doing this, you know?
Hello?
Yeah, of course.
Would have got me the food. It's the food.
You know,
I'm greedy.
Food, right?
So I still turned him down because that's just how bad I didn't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
But he caught me at a time, at a day where I was really, really vulnerable and I was really going through it. And I said, okay, fine, whatever. I'll probably never see him again. I'm about to move, right? And he was really sweet. The person that I ended the relationship with and the person that I began with, they were two different people. Don't miss that.
Yeah.
I hope y'all catch it. Did y'all hear it?
Yeah.
Did she need
Two
to
different
repeat
people.
that? Look, did she need to
Two
repeat
different
that?
people.
Oh no, say that again. The person that you saw at the beginning and the person
that I ended the relationship with and the person that I began the relationship with were two different people, maybe three. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we went on our first few dates, he was really sweet, opening doors for me. You know, it was pouring down rain, and I remember he walked like 3 blocks to the car to go get the umbrella, got wet and everything, just so I wouldn't get wet. So fast forward, I had transitioned to Georgia. We had still stayed in contact during that time, and then he had come down to visit. Now, mind you, in our courtship, he had told me that he knew people in Georgia and that he had lived there prior to, which I found out to be the truth, and that he did have a few family members here, which I also found to be the truth. Now, but he twisted that a little bit. So when he came to visit, a whirlwind of things just started happening for me that I didn't expect. You know, my son got really, really ill. And I didn't have any insurance at the time because I just transitioned. So nothing is in place right now. Right. So I end up losing my job, getting laid off because I'm taking off so much to be with my son. At that time, we lived in a part of Georgia that was very heavily racist. I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. You know, we're not cutting no cards here. And it was a very uncomfortable situation. We were fish out of water down here. So he was like, you know, I'm just gonna stay. I can't leave y'all down here like that. And I appreciated that because I did need somebody. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I was really going through it. But it wasn't the way he ended up staying, it just wasn't planned. So the relationship began to progress. And then shortly after, maybe about 6 months into me being in Georgia, that's when I began to see who he really was. He couldn't articulate himself without yelling. And I remember he yelled at my daughter one day. She had accidentally put on his pants. Mind you, we just moved. Things are in disarray. You know, we don't know what's what. And the manner in which he yelled at her was completely and utterly unacceptable. I don't talk to her like that. Nobody talks to my kids like that. Right. So what makes you think I'm gonna let you talk to my kids like that? And it was on from there. And I knew then, that was when kind of I realized like I'm in trouble. I knew early on that I was in trouble, right? So he would change his behavior at times to try to get better or make it seem like he was getting better. It started off as emotional abuse, which I didn't recognize those signs either. After the erratic yelling, whenever he would start yelling, oh my God, it was going to be a bad day. Like it was just going to go on all day. No matter how many times I apologized, even if I wasn't wrong, no matter how many times I tried to de-escalate the situation, it would not come down, right? So he would walk through here constantly. Mind you, my kids would sit around. They can hear these things just tear me down verbally. and I ain't done nothing to you. I ain't
Yeah.
done nothing. He would call me all types of names that shouldn't be called in front of my children. Just make me, he had ways with his mouth to make me feel like I was nothing.
Mm.
And at that time, you know, I wasn't working. I didn't have any friends. He's the only person that I had, right? So now that I'm in therapy, I understand that what was going on with me was something like Stockholm syndrome. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
while I was in it, I'm feeling like he was always saying, you know, I'm the only person that loves you, because he know I have issues with my family. I'm a loner.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm an introvert. I stay to myself. So I'm the only person that loves you. I stayed down. I ride with you through this. I stayed because you got 3 kids, just beating me down, making me feel like I owe him something for being with me, right?
Like you had to deserve him for being there. Like oh, you let me grace your presence because you still here. Type situation.
And it's interesting because they always prey on that vulnerability. They always prey on that weakness and exploit it. You know, they know your weaknesses, they know your vulnerabilities, and they use that against you to continue to keep you bound and trapped.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And he was a person who was very unhappy with where he was in life and what he hadn't accomplished. And he would always deflect that on other people, mainly me. I was the punching bag because I was the nearest person, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and make it seem like it was all bad, because there were good times too.
Right.
There was obviously something that attracted me to him. When we were good, we were good.
Yeah.
And when he would try, we were good. But the problem is, there is no trying to get better when that's who you are.
Yes. Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? That's just him.
Yes.
So all this time, I'm not, I don't consider myself an ignorant woman. I'm educated. I've gone to school. I've always paid attention, but somehow I couldn't recognize that I was being emotionally abused. I didn't realize that what was happening to me was actually domestic violence. Someone doesn't have to be putting their hands on you for it to be domestic violence.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people don't recognize it if it's not physical abuse. Abuse is abuse, no matter if it's spiritual, emotional, mental, economical, financial, whatever. Abuse is still abuse.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's overlooked. So I want to stress that. Please understand. Emotional, verbal abuse, gaslighting, all of that, it's abuse.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So going forward, you know, it was one of those toxic situations where nothing was ever right. Like, the only time we were good is maybe an hour out of the day, and that's terrible. And I'm the only one that's realizing the problem. It was one of them volleyball effects. Okay, we good now, we back bad. And I'm steady like, look, this is not working. Please let me out. Please let me out. You know, and every time I would, it would escalate. So eventually I stopped saying, please let me out, because I knew what was coming behind the please let me out. I had to play along. You understand what I'm saying? I had to play along for the sake of peace and my children. So when I began to want out and I began to realize that, you know, you're just not getting better, this is not going to work, that's when the physical started. And I don't know, like sometimes I would just let him hit me because it would always be so many disturbances. And I'm just trying to cut down on what my kids are seeing and hearing. And, you know, so sometimes I would just try to just hurry up and de-escalate it and let him do what he's going to do instead of just fighting back. But then there were times where I was genuinely aggravated, like, what's wrong with you? You know, you're not going to keep doing this to me. Like, what is your problem? And then I began to call the authorities. Do you think that people help me?
No.
So I began to figure out where I was. Like, I'm in a very much still Confederate state.
Yeah.
And when I call the police and when I hear them walking up the steps and they say, oh, it's just a domestic violence dispute. What do you mean just?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh? So all this time, you know, over the course of the year 2019 is when the physical abuse had began. Towards the end of that year and starting the pandemic is when it started to get really bad with the stay-at-home orders and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is when the police presence became very, very heavy. Each time they came, they've seen the holes in my walls. They've seen things broken. Even though I've tried to, pick it up because my kids were running around, they've seen certain things out of place and they knew I was a victim, but they failed to identify me as a victim and separate me from him and explain certain things, because their failure to do that just gave him free reign to run amok.
Right.
Yeah.
And what they said was this: well, in such and such a county, if he's here past 30 days, he's a resident. We can't do anything. I'm like, but y'all don't see. Y'all don't see well, are you pressing charges? I said, yes. He's like, but she hit me first. What? So now it's the he say, she say thing. And I'm sitting up here. I got to say, no, I don't want to press charges because you're threatening to press charges against me. And I'm 600 miles away from home and my kids don't have nobody.
Yeah.
So what would you have done?
Yeah.
What would you have done?
They left you no option but to still be there at that moment. It's like, okay, what am I going to do? Because they're not helping.
Exactly. So by this time, stay-at-home orders, evictions, everything had stopped. So you say file an eviction, but evictions aren't happening. So they flat out left me in my situation. They did. They did. When things started getting bad, I started to call home to his parents. I spoke to both of them separately. They are not in the same household. I was told that he has a long history of mental illness. I did know that he was on depression medications. I'm like, okay, that's normal. Many people suffer with depression. However, he left out a lot of things. Okay. So I'm learning that he has all of these issues from his mother and father. And then I'm like, hey, can you come and get him? And the response I'm getting is like, oh, he's your problem.
Wow.
The response I'm getting is, oh, he's grown. Oh, we can't make him go anywhere if he don't. We've told him if he don't want to, we can't. We'll call the police. I did. This is your son. So you telling me I'm calling you, telling you your son is putting his hands on me in front of my children, verbally abusing my children. He never put his hands on my children, but the verbal abuse that they suffered from that man, it still reigns in them every day.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm on the phone raising the red flag, right? And nobody does anything. And this continues every day. When I try to leave, you're taking my keys. And then this is the narcissism. This is the narcissism coming, making it seem like I'm crazy. Like I don't put my keys in the same spot every day. I know you got my keys. Stop playing with me. But these are the mind games that narcissists play with you. They gaslight you to make you distort your reality and question your sanity. Like you the one that's crazy. Right?
You know what? Going back to you speaking with the family. A lot of times the family don't want to deal with the reality of the monster they created. And I'm speaking from experience because I was in a similar situation where I reached out to his family as well. And it was just kind of like this, well, there's nothing we can do, kind of pacifying the situation. But, going back to looking at the history of this person's problem, I realized that a lot of what I was dealing with is because of the mama's boy that I was really dealing with. You know what I mean?
Talk about
you know what I mean? And then when it comes back on you, you can't deal with it or you refuse to deal with it because really that means you would have to take a look at yourself and deal with yourself. And
they got to take accountability for it.
Yeah, they're not willing to do that. You know what I mean? So it's always pacifying or dismissing or whatever the case is because they don't want to deal with the monster they created that somebody else's daughter or let's be real, son even has to, you know what I'm saying? It's our problem now. We're the ones who have to suffer because of what they did. So sis, I feel you on that. You know what I mean?
And that's it. We have to, and this is why we're having these conversations, because as a Black community, we have to change a lot of this stuff. Like a lot of these are problems. These are problems that we don't want to address, that we continue to sweep under the rug, that nobody pays attention to until it happens to you or your friend or your family member. You know what I'm saying?
The family members, they pay attention to it, but they keep sweeping it because, you know, you're not supposed to talk about what's outside the family, or you got to keep it in the house,
secrets.
or you know, family secrets, or, you know,
that's right.
Or they just having a attention tandem. They just acting out. No, you need to really go handle that, because they doing more than acting out.
Yeah, at 35, like that should have been dealt with, you know, at preschool age. You know,
that's the mom and daddy issue they ain't never got rid of.
And this individual was almost 40 years old.
Exactly.
Turned 40, you know, last year. So it's like, at what point?
Yeah.
At what point do you assume responsibility?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly, sis.
But once it started escalating to the point of him like not letting me leave here, it was a problem, because he was so angry. By this time I had started working. I had a consistent friend coming around. She was my rock throughout this time. Danielle, I love you. You know, I wouldn't have been able to make it through without her. She was the only person that I had. And every time I called, she was here. You hear me? So by this time, he was really angry that I started to have outlets and people telling me like, yo, his behavior is off. That is not right. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I remember him taking my keys one night, and I said, okay, I got your number. I got my stimulus, boo. I'm about to call me a locksmith, and he's going to come here and reset this here lock and give me my keys so I can get on out of here. And that's exactly what I did. And I remember just watching him through the window, watching the man about to, you know, keep my lock and everything. And then he came out the door and was like, here, you know, it's just ridiculous. You always want to run away, and just lunged the keys at me. I mean, lunged them. And I was like, you know, and I was like, oh my God. And the locksmith was like, are you okay? And I said, no. You know, but I still had to pay him for coming out and everything. But when he gave me my keys, the locksmith waited until I pulled off. He was a gentleman from Germany. Who would have thought? You know, he waited for me to pull off and left behind me, you know, and escorted me to the hotel. He could have been crazy, but he wasn't. He saw that I was in trouble. You understand what I'm saying? So I didn't encounter many kind people like that on my journey. I had neighbors that knew what was going on, and they didn't do anything. They turned their head just like that. Sometimes they even laughed with him when he was outside tearing me down. And these were grown men. Y'all are trash if y'all condone that type of behavior. Period. Y'all are trash. Y'all need to check y'all mans and let them know that's some B.A. niggas that they doing. You know what I'm saying? And don't condone that mess. No. But all around him were people enabling his behavior.
And that's why he continued to do it. He, you know, they allowed him to have that. It was acceptable and it was okay. And that's why he continued to do it, because he was allowed to do it, and nobody ever checked it, changed it, or did anything different.
Yeah, he had no accountability. You're right. Yeah.
So I'll tell y'all about these few things. Lord Jesus. I told him, you know, this is it. I'm done with this. Like, you know, I have to close this door. And he knew that I was very much serious. I had started sleeping on the sofa, all that. And I woke up one night, it was like 2 a.m. And I looked at my phone, and he had sent me an array of text messages just going off. You know, I'm tired of living. I'm sick of this. I'm surrounded in a house where I'm not getting no love from anyone. You the abuser. What?
The narcissism coming out.
You know, I'm surrounded by no love. I'm tired of this. I'm going to take this whole bottle of pills, and you'll see then. So the pills that he was referring to were his antidepressants. And at the time that I woke up, literally, he was stumbling down the hallway, and I flashed my light on my iPhone, and I looked at him, and I could tell that he did exactly what he said. And then he stumbled to the table and knocked over a glass. I'm like, oh my God, I need to call 911. I can't explain to you how I felt, because I've never exposed my kids to this type of trauma.
Yeah.
You feel me? I walk the straight and narrow. I have never been in trouble a day in my life. And as far as my kids is concerned, I've been working overtime to break generational curses with them before this even happened to me. I'm a good parent. So for all of this to be going on, I felt like the worst mother on earth. I couldn't stop the guilt. So all I could remember from that night was asking them paramedics to just please be quiet. You know, my kids are asleep. Please just do this as quietly as you can. That's all I was thinking about, was shielding my kids from what was going on, that trauma, just for it to be one less thing they have to deal with, you know? So they did it as I asked, and they took them away. And this time I'm calling back home. I'm like, look, y'all gonna have to, come on, I'm gonna end up getting a defects case. I can't keep having this going on. They're gonna take my kids. And it was by the grace of God that I hadn't gotten one at that point, right? So his mom is now like, oh my God, you know, I gotta get down there. He's obviously, something is wrong. Like, you know, I'm like, ain't nothing wrong. He's been abusing me. He's a narcissist.
Exactly.
So she asked me, I had not been to the hospital. I refused to go, but she asked me to go up there because COVID was going on. And she asked me to physically go up there and find out what restrictions they got. Can she come, et cetera, right? So she asked me to check on his well-being. I said, okay, fine. I did. I'm a Christian person, you know? I did. And when I go in there, the people were telling him to, you know, in those wards, you have to be seen. You can't be under the covers and things like that. They're like, you have to take the covers off. He was just acting like a child, like just so erratic. And I'm like, something really wrong with him, you know? So I remember him seeing me. He was like, you the reason, get that B out of here. You the reason a nigga in this B, you know? And I'm like, what? You know, you gonna put this on me? So at that point, I said, ma'am, come deal with your son. I'm done with this.
Problem.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the end. So they transferred him from that hospital to a mental health facility, right? And the doctors and the nurses are calling me. He's giving them my number. By this time, I've blocked the numbers that he's calling from. So they can only get through on a certain line. And they're like, can we release him to you? And I'm like, no. She's like, well, he don't have nowhere to go. I said, but he can't come here. That's not my business. Right?
Y'all need to figure it out. Ain't my problem.
Okay. I've told them this repeatedly. I get a call and he's like, I'm by such and such a mall. Either you're going to come and get me or I'm going to come and make a scene in the hallway.
Wow.
By this time, the police presence had been here really, really heavy. It was a heavy disturbance. My apartment was in my name. And what would you have done? Of course I wouldn't have got him because I knew he'd have did it. I'm not trying to get put out. You know,
put out, the kids would have been, you know.
You know? So it's like my back was constantly against the wall and I'm not getting no help from nowhere. So I went and got him. And when I pulled up, I remember, you know, he came running to the car smiling. He got in, he said, hi, boo. And I remember I just sat at the light and broke down. Girl, people was beeping the horn at me and everything because I was hysterical. I was hysterical because I'm like, God, how am I going to get out of this? I'm trying and trying. I don't want to be in this. How can I get out of this? I raised so many red flags to people for help, and I got none. So realistically speaking, they tell us to call these domestic violence hotlines. They tell us to call the police. They tell us to get these restraining orders. But what does that really do for us?
Nothing. It's one, it's a piece of paper. Two, the cops don't see it as nothing serious because they be doing everything else. And two, listen, I've been the same line you've been. I understand all of it because I had a restraining order and it was just like another piece of paper just there.
So he came back, and at that time I was tired, sis. We was fighting heavy. We was wrecking.
Yeah.
I mean, it was okay. So I'm like, look, it's either gonna be you or it's gonna be me, and it's not gonna be me, right? So fast forward, to the time where things start getting really, really bad. That morning, this is the morning that it all went down. That morning, I remember waking up. At that time I was working from home, still working from home, and I was supposed to log on at 9, right? I woke up at like 8. That's what time I get up every day. I ain't gotta go nowhere. And I remember being able to see him from my bathroom at the time, and I was looking at him, and he was frowned up, and it was this vein going down the middle. And I knew when I seen that vein, it was gonna be problems, man. And it was like 8 in the morning. I'm like, what is wrong with you at 8 o'clock? What the hell is wrong now? What's wrong? So I forgot what we ended up getting into it about, but baby girl, that was the right morning for me, because we was getting it on. The next thing I knew, it was one of them things, we was tussling from my bedroom to the living room. The next thing I knew, the back door was open. He threw me into the bushes out of my house, locked me out. And at this time, it's early in the morning. My kids haven't even logged off to school. I have to wake my daughter up to this foolishness, asking her to let me climb in the window. So they're waking up, and now my kids are up, because this is the biggest argument ever. And we wrecking, and I'm not letting up at this point. So now he called the police on me, right? Because I'm defending myself. I'm like, I'm not going to let you kill me in here. So by the time the police got here, it was one of the same officers that was constantly coming, and he was on my side, but he had to do his job. And he said, I don't want to take you, but I see the bodily harm to him, and I have to take you. And I said, what? I said, as many, I went, girl, to DCK. I said, as many times as I done called you niggas out here,
you ain't take
me?
him, but you gonna take you.
Exactly.
Listen.
So I said, okay. I said, do me a favor. Just don't do this in front of my kids. And don't call DCX. Let me call my friend. And I will forever, owe that man my life, because he did that for me. He didn't call them people, and he allowed her to come. She did. When she got here, my ex was just screaming obscenities, and I was quiet the whole time, because of course I don't want to come off like the aggressor. I want them to see him for exactly who he is. But the thing is this, every time the police were called, he was always aggressive. They'll be with their hands on their gun like this around, but you never arrested the man. You're uncomfortable, and you gonna leave me with this nigga?
Right.
So it's like, okay. And then they even asked me, they're like, why is he so erratic? Is he on something? I can't tell you how many times I got asked that question. There was so many loopholes in my case. It was mishandled. And I'm telling you, it's because I'm a brown woman.
Yes.
That's crazy.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
what I know.
It's fact.
That's what I know.
Because
nobody can tell me otherwise.
If you was any other color, it wouldn't have went down like that. He would have been arrested a long time ago.
Of course.
From the first time you called.
Of course.
But it don't end here though. So once I got arrested, he took me behind the car, handcuffed me. He didn't let my kids see. Okay, cool. On the way to the station, he was just talking to me as an officer to a victim. Telling me my options, telling me what he's supposed to tell me as an officer. And he hit me to a lot of things that I wasn't aware of, because I've never been in this situation before. And also, I don't know Georgia's laws either, right?
Right.
So he was able to, I appreciate him, because he knew what was going on, but he had to do his job. So once I got out and I turned my phone on, this man is, I got 100 text messages. Baby, I'm so sorry. I love you. I'm going nuts with you in there, but I want you to get out. And I'm looking, I'm like, he's crazy. I stayed at my friend's house. I did not go back to my apartment. I took everything that I had. She went with me. I went and applied for a TPO. Them folks denied my TPO.
Wait. Wow.
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
The first time they did. My friend was there and everything. It was the worst time of my life. I can't even explain to you how I felt. It's like, dog, y'all are supposed to be protecting me. Nobody is doing anything.
Nothing.
Right? So the grounds that they denied it on, he was like, no, it sounds like a quick eviction to me. Boom. And I'm like, what? So I said, okay. I go home. Actually, no, I didn't go home. I went back to her place. I contacted my leasing office to try to find out what we can do. And they were willing to give me another unit. So that way I can't say that he's been here 30 days. This is my apartment. They were trying to work with me, right? So I was going over there to go get that in place, sign those documents. And then I went to my home to get some clothes. I noticed that his side of the closet was gone. It was empty. He took everything. Praise God, he gone. So I'm thinking he done left. Girl, he live upstairs. He then got chummy with the dude that live upstairs because he's from the same area. So all this time he's been upstairs. I hadn't seen him for like a week, and he was ducked off upstairs.
Wow.
So a few days pass. My daughter has a lip gloss business. I come out to mail her stuff off. One of my tires is flat. I said, okay, maybe it's ball. It was a little ball. So I said, okay, maybe this was, they get there and they like, no, this was not an accident. This was a puncture. Geico changes the tire, puts the spare on. I take pictures, document, get everything, right?
That's right.
Move on about my day. The next day I come out, the tire on the other side is flat. This point, I call the police, right? Because it's deliberate.
Yeah.
And I called Geico, documented everything. The police, they were trying to find him or whatever the case may be. They couldn't find him, and there were no cameras on the property to prove that he did it.
Yeah.
I get my car towed. This is the day all hell broke loose. I get my car towed. I come back. He outside with the police, some of whom have been to my house before, some of whom have not. And he's telling these people that I put him out. Why don't you just leave? Like, what is your purpose? At this point, I was getting really upset because it's like, you want to hold on to, it's like, I can't have you, you're not getting away from me.
That's right. Yeah.
I started getting scared.
Yeah.
I started getting scared because it's like, okay, he's not letting me go. Now he's just coming up with lies. And this is my crib. He already got me arrested, knowing I'm the sole provider for my kids, knowing you're abusing me. You're going to call the police on me, knowing I'm defending myself. Then you come jeopardizing my household, trying to force your way back in it. What? So guess what the police told me, though? They took his side. With my friend right here, the maintenance guy from the property, because the maintenance guy, he was like, well, he told me he left.
Yeah.
He was like, I was just talking to him. He told me he left. Everyone is telling him the same thing. And they're like, well, he has rights. You have to let him back in. I was appalled. All of this is documented in police reports, sis. Everything I'm saying to you, you can go to my county and request the police records. It's in black and white. They played with me from the beginning to the end.
To the end. Yes, they did. Wow.
Insane. That's insane.
So I said, okay, fine. By this time, it was so embarrassing for my kids. By this time, the whole apartment complex outside, because we got people can't even get through the thing at this point to drive. We got all these police cars. So we got all these kids that's in their class. We got all these neighbors outside, and my kids are just standing there crying. Do you know how that made me feel as a mother?
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
That's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. So they were heavily affected. They have traumas that they have to get through too, even though they weren't touched. So it's important for y'all to realize that even though they didn't abuse your kids still need therapy.
You're still affected by it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So once I got to the hotel, I said, okay, y'all, just please stay here, police, and let me get my stuff, put some stuff in the trunk. Girl, I got to the hotel, my car shuts off. And I'm like, what? So me and my daughter get out, and I got videos of this. Police, girl, get out. She like, Mom, what's that dripping from the gas tank? Girl, open the gas, female behavior. This man then put a whole thing of sugar.
Wow.
In my gas tank. Oh, I was hot. That day, I was breaking down because I had worked so, y'all don't understand. When we moved down here and my son got sick, we became homeless. We had to live in a hotel until I can get us back stable and on our feet. Okay. So I worked hard and built myself back up from nothing. And this nigga came and just took everything I had in a matter of a week.
Anything to break you.
Yeah.
And he was determined to make
Ridiculous.
you feel defeated and shame and embarrassed and everything else. Wow,
Prior
I'm
to that,
appalled with the system.
it's not done.
Hello?
It's just
Oh,
ridiculous. Listen,
I'm listening. Listen, I'm loud and clear. I'm listening so I can figure out some
prior
rules
to
that I need
that,
to put on over there. Mm.
girl, after they denied the restraining order, this is the time frame where he's slashing my tires and all this. I
Yeah.
went to go get my nails done, and he walked up on me in a nail salon because I wasn't answering his calls. And I'm
Stalking
looking
me.
down trying to pay.
Now he's stalking.
Yes. So I'm standing trying to pay, and I look up. I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, do you not want him here? I said, no.
No.
So I take all this. The next day after I discovered the sugar in my tank, I go back to the district, to the Live Safe Resources, and I looked that lady in her eyes and I handed that to her. And I said, they better grant this today.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
all this could have been avoided had they granted it a few days ago. I don't even think it was a week. I think it was 5 days that he wreaked havoc on my life. He was at my back window, knocking on my door, begging me to let him in still. Like, he was terrorizing me, sending me threatening messages. Girl, I have 8 pages of block calls, screenshots, calling me all throughout the night, threatening my life if I don't take him back. But y'all denied my restraining order. And this is what's going on after you denied it. Do you think they granted it the second time? Of course they did.
Oh, girl.
Because I was about to say, if they said no, listen, like they said no.
That's ridiculous.
And I definitely have an attorney to pursue these loopholes in my case.
There you go. Good.
So
it's ridiculous.
They granted the restraining order, girl. We come back, it's served to him, and he violated it 2 hours later.
Yeah.
And he's been incarcerated ever since.
So
it's a typical story of the justice system failing from beginning to end.
Absolutely.
So what I want everyone to take away from this is that if you feel like you're not at the best version of yourself, stay by yourself.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I invited that into my life. I attracted him. My negative energy attracted him. And I realized that after I got out of that situation, I was constantly going to continue to attract the same people until I cleaned out the mess that was inside of me that was attracting them people. You understand what I'm saying? And when I began to look at the person in the mirror and address everything that I had going on, I had a lot of mess. A lot of it. I had a lot of childhood anger, things that stem from my childhood. I learned who I am after domestic violence. And I think that had I not gone through that process, I probably still wouldn't know who I am.
Yeah. Absolutely. And also learn to peep the red flags. So a lot of times we ignore the red flags, and especially us as women, and just how our nature is. We always want to believe the best. We always want to be supportive. We always want to be whatever. And then meanwhile, it's all these red flags, all these signs going on. And we're just, oh, well, it's going to get better, or he didn't mean it. Or, we have 1,000,001 excuses.
We can't do that.
No,
we can't
ignore the red flags, or you're going to pay for it. It's going to cost you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And when I thought about it, the relationship essentially ended with him stalking me, but it began that way. It began that way too, because
say that. Yes.
I stopped going to the place where he was because I felt uncomfortable, because I felt that he was asserting himself. And what did you do? You pop up with some food and some flowers. Who told you to come here?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So it was the aggressive
at the beginning.
Yeah, that was a
behavior.
flag.
All that was there.
That was a red flag. Yeah, exactly. But you know what? Sometimes if we don't see it in a certain way, we don't recognize that that's what that is when we're in the moment of it. You know what I mean? So it's good that you're talking about this and how we have to be attentive and pay attention, because all these things are signs, and it's masqueraded as something that it's really not.
Yep.
And it's not until we're in it, like all the way in it, then we realize, like, just, like, I know we all have stories. Like, just in my case, I'm looking back, I'm like, yo, it was all these signs that
I missed them all.
I missed it. I didn't see it until boom, I was all up in it. And then it's too late. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're in it. But
And see
no,
what it is. They get us to
yeah.
love on them, and he's so this, and like you said, he brought you the roses, and he was dropping this, and it's like, oh, okay. But that's where they get us caught up at. Like you said, we then, allow it in because we avoided the other signs that was above all that, and like, oh, he was so sweet, that was cute, but we got to realize that cuteness was something else behind it, and he was plotting.
It was a hidden agenda, behind that.
He was already preying on the situation.
She smelled the weakness on me. That's why I said, if you know you're not up to par and where you need to be, stay by yourself, because you're not necessarily attracting a man that you want. You're attracting somebody who smelled the weakness on you, and they know they can manipulate you.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You're an easy target. So you have to make sure you're of whole and sound mind when you start dealing with people, because you truly have no idea who you're dealing with. You got to be able to see through and recognize certain things. And if you're not at the best version of yourself mentally, how could you possibly do that?
And you know what, sis? The other thing is, because, and you spoke on it, you said the fact that he knew that you were by yourself. You didn't have family. You didn't have anybody to really like check him out for you. Like, okay, sis, we know, you may be attracted to this guy or whatever, but let us as brothers check him out. A brother knows another brother. And it's like, see, he knew that you didn't have that kind of support and accountability and security around you. Yes. And that's what they do, yo.
She here by herself in Georgia. I got her.
They purposely prey on women like that, because they know there's no one to check them. There's no one to hold them accountable. There's no one to peep the mask that they're wearing. So yeah, absolutely.
Sis, it's been marvelous. You shed a lot on a lot of things. Please believe I'm gonna have you back, because we gotta talk about
girl. This ain't over.
This ain't over. We gotta talk about that brand that you have. We got some things to talk about.
Yes, the book.
You know what I'm saying? The book, all that. We gotta put all that in motion. So I know, because it's 8:45, so I want to briefly give you time to tell them where to find you. If it's anything you want to tell them about yourself as far as your book and your brand, you can do that real quick. But we will have you back to talk on some more. Just know,
I'm looking forward to it.
This is just the beginning.
Yes.
This is just the beginning.
So after surviving domestic violence, I decided to turn my situation into something positive. I already had a nonprofit called the Melanin Motherhood. Initially, it was geared towards single moms, just helping them become better versions of themselves, providing assistance, things like that. And then I turned it into a domestic violence awareness nonprofit. So since then, I've built a website for domestic violence awareness. It has a safe exit button. If you are a victim of abuse and you're scared, they're going to see what you're looking at. You can click that button. It'll take you back to Google. We have a danger assessment tool there, where what that is a short anonymous quiz where it can gauge the risk of fatality in your relationship. It asks you some questions. If they have a weapon, have they done this? And it'll tell you the likelihood of your situation to become fatal, right?
Yes.
We also have a link there, which will take you to the Clinicians of Color website, where you can look there and find a therapist that looks like you, whatever your nationality may be.
Nice.
Okay. So it's just a resource for everybody, for our people, because we lack that in our community. It's a safe place. You can email me anytime if you want to talk, if you need help, any of that. I'm here.
Listen, guys, you're not alone. We here. We out here. We giving y'all the sources. We telling y'all the signs. Sometimes y'all see it and don't see it. Just listen to people that been through it. We coming to y'all and giving y'all face front. So, Miss Tina, we want to thank you.
Yeah.
We want to thank you for having me. Listen, anytime. I'm having you back. Listen, I told you. It's more to come, because we on the same cycle. So we just starting to build. This is the beginning. So
I'm with
it. Yes. Because we gonna talk. That's all I'm gonna say.
You got my number.
Listen, I know where to find you. I found you already, so I know where to find you. And it's
exactly. You too, Miss Lyrical.
Yes. Look, Look, we gonna come find you together. That's my
Yeah.
sister. We coming to get you.
Yeah.
We coming to find you together. We come to Georgia when this COVID get
Thank y'all
together.
so
We coming
much.
to
I'm
Georgia.
originally from Georgia, so yeah.
Look, I'm from
Really?
South.
Yeah.
She from
Yeah.
Georgia.
Please
I'm from
come
South
back. I don't
Carolina.
have no friends.
We coming. We coming. Listen, you can look. You already part of the sisterhood. You
Yes.
have now been initiated.
Yes.
You are now our sister. So
Thank
just
Mm-hmm.
you
know,
so
Queen, we
much.
all love. It will forever be love. Anytime you need us, contact us.
Yeah,
We
we
here.
here. We here.
Listen, this
Yes,
is the day
ma'am.
you just need to scream. We here for that too,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yes, ma'am.
we have those days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we got your back.
All right. I got y'all's.
Thank
All
Absolutely.
you.
right,
So
y'all. Thank y'all for having me.
thank you for
Thank you,
coming. We
sis.
love you. Appreciate you.
All right, y'all. Have a good one.
You too,
You too,
sis.
man. So yes, guys. Oh my God, victory of the minds. I hope y'all got that victory today. I hope y'all listened.
Yes, that
Hope
was
you took it in.
powerful.
It was very powerful, and it basically showed you, that there's times they tell us to, go to the system, and as you can see, the system seems to tend to fail because that's not the first, and I'm sure it's not the last. And I've been failed by the system as well when I had a restraining
Yeah.
order, so I get it. I get all those things, and people, please pay attention to those red flags. Please pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to the gaslighting. Pay attention to the signs that are face front to you, because a lot of times we see it and we try to ignore it because
Yeah.
maybe it look nice, it's cleaned up nice, it has a nice makeup on it. But I'm telling
Mm-hmm.
y'all, sometimes that makeup just look good on the outside and that inside is horrible and a whole
Yeah.
lot of mess that they need to take care of, and they tend to put it on you. So
Yeah.
my advice to y'all for the week is, just be ready to heal yourselves. Hashtag don't wait on nobody else to try to heal you. If you need therapy, go to therapy. If you need to talk to somebody, you know, it's people out there. You're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not by yourself. And if you want to talk to us, we hit the inbox. We here. You can
Mm-hmm.
always hit me at www.theladybehindthemask.com. You can always hit me at sgodine16@gmail if you want to even go to the email. You can find me at Sheena Godine author on all platforms. We are here for it. We're here to help.
Yeah.
We know it can be hard sometimes, because sometimes we might feel ashamed, we might feel judged, but just know it's
Mm-hmm.
nothing to be ashamed about. Things happen. We're human. But just,
That's right.
don't allow it to affect your life to whereas you don't feel that you can seek or go anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard and we get it. We've been there. So this is why we're here to help. Any last words
Amen.
before we end the show, baby?
Well, I mean, y'all done said it all. I just ditto to everything that's been said. But I mean, I'm just so forever grateful for people who are breaking their silence and speaking out, because so many people need to hear, these things, even if it's to save people from even making that step towards the wrong direction. These things are powerful. This is nuggets of gold and wisdom that is being shared, so that you recognize the signs, so that you recognize, oh, hey, you know what? These are some behaviors that are exhibiting in the early stages. So you don't even have to go down this road. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just thank God for, Sheena, obviously the platform, that you are spearheading, and these incredible people who are breaking their silence and just bold enough to share their stories, as well as turn their misery into a ministry.
Yes.
Now she's got resources out there, because she knows what it feels like to be stuck
Mm-hmm.
without resources, to be
Yep.
fail, the system to fail her, and she doesn't want
Yes.
that for other people. So
And
she's,
people.
yeah, provided a platform and resources for people to
Yeah.
truly get the help that they actually need. So, man.
Yes. And if y'all have any ideas on how to change the system in Georgia, listen, let's figure it out. Let's
Listen,
get
yes.
together. Let's get together, because GA, y'all doing too much.
Doing
But
way too much.
way too much. But we love y'all. Tune in. We won't be here next Tuesday, but we
Right.
will be back in April
April.
showing much love. So look out, pay attention, share it with a friend. Please like this, share it with others, share it with anybody you know that might need this, because listen, it's always power in the testimony. We always appreciate y'all for stopping by Testimonial Tuesdays with Sheena Godine, author,
Lyrical 7.
and we will see y'all next time. We love y'all. Have a
Love
great
you.
night.